The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, and Park stepped onto the Galactic Academy's docking platform. She carried only a worn backpack over one shoulder. Her clothes were simple, dark pants, a gray jacket, and boots that had seen many miles of hard ground. She looked around the massive station with calm eyes that showed no excitement, no fear, and no wonder. Around her, the docking bay buzzed with activity. Creatures of all shapes and sizes moved through the space. Some floated, some walked on many legs, some had no legs at all. Watched them all with the same quiet attention, like a cat watching birds through a window. A tall being made of metal and light approached her. Its body clicked and whirred as it moved. A soft blue glow came from where its eyes should be. "You are Park, human, from Earth." It was not a question. The being's voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Instructor Helios 7. I will take you to your class." Nodded once. She did not offer her hand or bow or make any of the greeting gestures that other species used. She simply waited. Helios 7 studied her for a moment. In its long years of teaching, it had welcomed students from over 200 different worlds, but it had never welcomed a human. Very few humans ever left Earth. Even fewer came to places like the Academy. "Follow me," the instructor said. They walked through long corridors filled with light. The walls showed images of distant galaxies and famous graduates. Other students moved past them and noticed how they looked at her. Some stared openly. Others quickly looked away. A few whispered to their friends. She had expected this. Humans were famous across the galaxy, but not in a good way. Earth was classified as a Category 9, one of the most dangerous planets known to exist. Everything on Earth was designed to kill. The gravity was crushing. The weather was violent. The animals were predators. Even the plants could poison you. Most species could not survive on Earth for more than a few hours. The ones who tried usually died. And yet, humans had not only survived there. They had become the dominant species. They had built cities and machines and weapons. They had learned to fight back against a planet that wanted them dead every single day of their lives. This made other species nervous. Helios 7 led to a large classroom with curved walls and floating seats. About 30 students were already inside, arranged in small groups. They stopped talking when the door opened. "Class 7B, Helios 7 announced. "This is Park. She is a transfer student from Earth. She will be joining us for the rest of the academic year." The silence was heavy. Could feel their eyes on her like physical weight. She had felt this before, the feeling of being watched by things that feared you and hated you at the same time. A student in the front row leaned back in his seat. His skin was pale blue and covered with patterns that glowed softly. As watched, the patterns shifted to dark red. She did not know exactly what that meant, but she could guess. It was not friendly. "There is an empty seat in the back," Helios 7 said. "Please make yourself comfortable." Walked to the back of the room. She moved smoothly and quietly, her footsteps making almost no sound. She sat down and placed her backpack on the floor beside her. The class slowly returned to normal. Students began talking again, though many kept glancing at her, ignored them. She pulled out a small and began reading the class materials. When the lesson ended, most students left quickly. A few lingered, watching her from a distance. From the front row walked past her slowly, his glowing patterns still showing that dark red color. He did not speak to her, but his message was clear enough. Did not react, she simply continued reading. A shadow fell across her desk. She looked up to find a young man standing there. He looked mostly human, but his eyes had a faint golden shine that marked him as something else. "Hi," he said. His voice was careful, like someone approaching a wild animal. I've been assigned as your cultural liaison." Studied him for a moment, half human. Blinked surprised. "Yes, my mother was human, my father was from New Harmony. How did you know?" "Your eyes and the way you stand." She paused. Also, they would not send a full human to watch me. Too obvious. Laughed nervously. I'm not here to watch you. I'm here to help you adjust. The academy can be confusing for new students. I am sure it can be. There was an awkward pause. Had prepared many things to say, but now that he was actually talking to her, all his words seemed wrong. She was not what he had expected. The reports described humans as loud and aggressive, full of restless energy, but was quiet. Still, she sat in her chair like a stone at the bottom of a river, unmoved by the current flowing around her. So he tried again. Do you have any questions about the academy or the station or anything? Considered this. Where is the food? The cafeteria is on level 3. I can show you. That would be helpful. They walked together through the corridors, talked about the academy, its history, its rules, its different areas, listened but said little. When they reached the cafeteria, she looked at the various food stations with the same calm expression she showed everything else. The synthesizers can make almost anything, explained. Just tell them what you want. Approached a machine and spoke quietly. A moment later, a simple meal appeared, rice, vegetables, and some kind of protein. Nothing fancy, nothing unusual. They sat at an empty table. Other students gave them a wide space. You don't have to be afraid of them, said after a while. Most of them are just curious. They've never met a human before. Looked at him. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, something old and tired and slightly amused. I'm not afraid of them, she said. And the way she said it made believe her completely. That night stood alone in the observation deck, watching the stars. The academy orbited a gas giant, and its rings painted ribbons of light across the dark sky. It was beautiful, but was not looking at the beauty. She was looking at the darkness between the stars, the empty spaces where anything could hide. On Earth, you learned to watch the shadows. You learned that beauty and danger often lived in the same place. A flower could poison you. A river could drown you. A sunset could blind you to the predator waiting in the tall grass. Had survived 17 years on Earth. She had buried friends and family. She had killed things that wanted to kill her. She had walked through fire and blood and come out the other side. This academy, with its soft students and safe corridors, did not scare her. Nothing here could scare her. But she wondered, as she watched the stars, if that was a good thing or a bad thing. 3 weeks passed at the Galactic Academy and Park settled into a quiet routine. She attended classes. She completed her assignments. She ate alone in the cafeteria. She spent her evenings in the observation deck, watching the stars. She spoke only when necessary. She asked no questions. She made no friends. The other students did not know what to make of her. Some tried to approach her, driven by curiosity about the mysterious human but her silence pushed them away. Her stillness made them uncomfortable. After a while, most of them stopped trying. But not everyone lost interest. Was the son of one of the wealthiest families in the Outer Rim. His family controlled mining operations across dozens of systems. They had power and money and influence, and had grown up believing that these things made him better than everyone else. He was with pale blue skin and patterns that glowed with his emotions. When he was happy, his patterns shone gold and white. When he was angry, they burned dark red. For 3 weeks, his patterns had been red whenever he saw. He did not like humans. He did not like what they represented, a species that had clawed its way to power through violence and stubbornness. A species that refused to die even when the universe tried its best to kill them. In his mind, humans were animals pretending to be civilized. They did not belong at the academy. And this particular human had made things worse by refusing to acknowledge him. She did not bow when he passed. She did not look away when their eyes met. She did not show any of the respect that his position deserved. This, decided, could not continue. He gathered his friends on a quiet afternoon. There was another whose family served. There was a Nervous who followed because he was too afraid not to, and there was Merc, a hulking creature from a heavy-gravity world, all muscle and bone and silence. Together, they found in the botanical wing. The botanical wing was filled with plants from 100 different worlds. Trees with silver leaves grew beside flowers that sang soft melodies. The air was thick with strange scents. It was a peaceful place, a place for studying and meditation. Was sitting on a bench near a small pond, reading her. She looked up when she heard footsteps approaching. Her expression did not change. Stopped a few meters away from her. His 3 companions spread out, forming a half-circle that blocked the nearest exits. The message was clear. Human said, his voice was cold. His skin patterns pulsed with angry reds and oranges. We need to talk. Set down her. She looked at each of them in turn with his glowing rage, the 2 Nervous behind him, and the Massive who stood like a living wall. Talk then, she said. Her voice was calm, quiet, it showed no fear at all. This made angrier. He had expected her to be nervous. He had expected her to stand up, to back away, to show some sign that she understood her position. Instead, she sat there like she was the one in control. Your kind doesn't belong here, he said. Are savages, animals pretending to be civilized. You crawled out of your poisonous mud and somehow convinced the galaxy that you deserve to stand beside us. But we know the truth. He stepped closer. The 2 moved with him. Merc cracked his massive knuckles. You are nothing, continued. Your planet is nothing, a rock covered in death and violence. And you are just another piece of that violence, dressed up in soft clothes and sent here to pretend you're something more. Listen to all of this without moving. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. I'm going to say this once, she said. Her voice was still calm, still quiet, but there was something underneath it now, something old and cold and patient. Walk away. Laughed. It came out as a series of clicking sounds that his translator turned into mockery. Or what? You'll fight us. There are 4 of us and 1 of you. And unlike your primitive world, we have laws here. Touch a noble and you'll be expelled, imprisoned. Your entire species will be banned from the academy. He leaned forward, his patterns blazing. So go ahead, human. Give me a reason. Show everyone what you really are. Looked at him, just looked. Her eyes were dark and steady, and in that moment felt something he had never felt before. It was a coldness in his stomach, a tightness in his chest. His ancestors, millions of years ago, had been prey animals. They had evolved on a gentle world with few predators. They had never needed to fight for their survival. But deep in their genetic memory, they still remembered what it felt like to be hunted. And right now, looking into his eyes, his body was screaming at him to run. I'm not threatening to fight you, said softly. I'm warning you that you don't understand what I am, what Earth made me. If you push this, you'll learn, and you won't like the lesson. The silence stretched between them. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. Behind, Merc shifted his weight. Even he, a creature from a world where everything was heavy and hard, felt something wrong in the air. The human girl had not moved, had not raised her voice, had not done anything threatening at all. And yet every instinct in his body was telling him that he was in danger. Broke first. He turned sharply and walked away. His companions followed, confused but relieved. None of them spoke until they were far from the botanical wing. What happened? Asked. His voice was shaking. Why did we leave? Did not answer. He could not explain what he had felt. He could not describe the certainty that had filled him in that moment, the knowledge that if he had pushed harder, something terrible would have happened. Not to him, perhaps. The human had promised not to fight. But the way she had said it, the way she had looked at him, it was like being warned away from a sleeping predator by someone who knew exactly what would happen if it woke up. That night could not sleep. He lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling, and no matter how hard he tried, he could not forget the look in the human's eyes. It was the look of something that had killed before. Something that could kill again. And something that was choosing, for now, not to. In her own room, finished her reading and turned off her. She sat in the darkness for a while, thinking about the confrontation. She had not wanted it to happen. She had hoped that if she stayed quiet and kept to herself, she could avoid these kinds of problems. But some things could not be avoided. Some conflicts had to be faced. She had given them a warning, one warning. That was more than most things on Earth ever got. If they were smart, they would listen. If they were not, closed her eyes and let herself drift towards sleep. In her dreams, she was back on Earth, running through the ruins of old cities while something terrible hunted her through the darkness. But in her dreams, she was not afraid. Because in her dreams, she was the one doing the hunting. The story spread through the academy like fire through dry grass. By the next morning, everyone knew that the wealthy, powerful, had backed down from the human girl without a single blow being thrown. Some students laughed about it. They whispered jokes about the noble's son running away from a creature half his size. They made up funny stories about what must have said to scare him so badly. Others did not laugh. They saw the look on his face in the days that followed, the way his eyes kept moving to doorways and shadows, the way his skin patterns stayed dim and muted instead of their usual bright colors. Whatever had happened in the botanical wing had changed him. And that scared them more than any story could. Found in the observation deck 2 days after the incident, she was in her usual spot, sitting near the large windows that looked out over the gas giant and its glowing rings. The stars beyond were cold and distant. He sat down beside her without asking permission. By now, he had learned that she would not invite him, but she also would not send him away. "Everyone is talking about what happened," he said. "I know. They're saying you threatened him, that you said you would kill him if he didn't leave you alone." Turned to look at him. Her expression was the same as always, calm, steady, unreadable. "Is that what they're saying?" "Some of them. Others say you did something to his mind, that humans have some kind of psychic power that can make other species feel fear." A small smile touched her lips. It was gone almost before it appeared. "Humans have no psychic powers. We are one of the least gifted species in the galaxy when it comes to mental abilities." Then what happened? Was quiet for a long moment. She looked back at the stars and saw something change in her eyes. Not sadness exactly, something deeper than that. "You were raised on New Harmony," she said. It was not a question. "Yes." "Tell me about it." Blinked at the unexpected request. "It's nice, peaceful, the weather is always perfect, the food grows easily, there are no dangerous animals, no wars, no violence. No death. Well, people die eventually, of old age mostly, sometimes accidents, but it's rare." Nodded slowly. "On Earth, death is not rare. On Earth, death is everywhere. It is in the air you breathe and the water you drink. It is in the ground under your feet and the sky above your head. Every single day, something is trying to kill you." She paused. "I grew up in a place called the Reclaimed Zones. Do you know what those are?" Shook his head. "After the Great Collapse, when human civilization nearly destroyed itself, parts of Earth went wild. Nature took back the cities. The plants and animals that survived changed, evolved, became more dangerous than anything that had existed before." Her voice was steady, like she was describing something that had happened to someone else. "When I was 12 years old, a pack found my settlement. There were 23 people living there. My parents, my brother, my friends, everyone I had ever known." She stopped, waited. "They killed all of them, one by one. I watched it happen. I was hiding in a storage container looking through a crack in the metal. I saw my mother try to run. I saw my brother try to fight. I saw what happened to them." Started to say something, but she kept talking. "There were 9 when they finished with the others. They found me. They broke open the container and pulled me out. I had a piece of broken metal in my hands, part of the container's frame. It was sharp. That was all I had. She looked at, her eyes were dark and empty. I killed all 9 of them. It took me 3 hours. When it was over, I was covered in blood, mine and theirs. I had broken bones in my arms and legs. I could barely see through the swelling, but I was alive. Silence filled the observation deck. Could not speak. He could not imagine what she was describing. On New Harmony, the most dangerous thing was a bee sting. The idea of a 12-year-old child fighting for her life against 9 predators. "That is what Earth makes," said softly. "That is what saw when he looked in my eyes. Not a threat, not a warning, just truth. He saw what I am, what I had to become to survive, and some part of him understood that he could never win against something like that." She turned back to the stars. "I don't want to hurt anyone here. I came to the academy because I wanted to learn. I wanted to see what the galaxy looked like beyond Earth's poisoned sky. I wanted to be something other than a survivor." Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "But I don't know how to stop being what Earth made me. I don't know how to be afraid of things that have never had to fight to survive." Sat with her in silence for a long time. He did not know what to say. He did not think there was anything he could say. Far across the station, in the noble quarters, was having a different kind of conversation. "She humiliated you," his father's image said from the communication screen. "She humiliated our family." "I know," said. His voice was tight with shame and anger. "The other families are talking. They are laughing. They say my son was frightened by a small human girl, a creature from a backwater planet. She is not just a girl. There is something wrong with her, something dangerous." "Then we will remove the danger." Looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "I am sending a team, professionals. They will arrive during the Unity Festival when security is busy with celebrations. They will handle the human problem quietly." "Father, the Academy has strict rules about violence." "The rules do not apply to us." His father's voice was cold. "They never have. By the time anyone realizes what happened, the human will be gone and there will be no evidence, no witnesses, no problems." Felt a chill run through him. He thought about eyes, about the feeling he had experienced in the botanical wing. "Father," he said slowly, "I don't think that's a good idea." "I don't care what you think. You failed. Now I will fix your failure. The team will contact you when they arrive. You will help them find the human, and then this will be over." The screen went dark. Sat alone in his room for a long time. Part of him was relieved. His father's people were professionals, soldiers and fighters who had removed problems across a dozen systems. They would take care of the human, and his humiliation would be erased. But another part of him, a small, quiet part buried deep inside, remembered the warning in his voice. She had told him to walk away. She had told him he would not like what happened if he pushed further. And despite everything his father had promised, despite all the power and resources on their side, could not shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. That they were about to wake up something that should have been left sleeping. Outside the station, the gas giant storm swirled in endless patterns of color and light. The Unity Festival was 2 weeks away. The Academy buzzed with excitement and preparation. And in her quiet room, Park continued her studies, unaware that death was coming for her. Or perhaps not unaware. Perhaps just waiting. The Unity Festival filled the Academy with light and noise and movement. Students from every species gathered in the main halls to celebrate. There was music that ranged from beautiful melodies to strange sounds that only certain species could hear. There was food from 100 different worlds. There were dances and games and performances. The corridors were crowded. Security was spread thin. Everyone was distracted by the celebration. It was the perfect time for an attack. Had spent most of the festival helping a classmate in the engineering bay. His name was a crystalline being from a frozen world who struggled with the heat of the station. She had helped him finish a project that was due the next morning, a small machine that could generate cooling fields. It was strange, she thought as she walked back through the quiet maintenance corridors. On Earth, helping others was dangerous. It made you slow. It made you vulnerable. But here, at the academy, she had found herself doing it more and more often. Maybe she was changing. Maybe this place was changing her. The thought made her smile slightly. Then she heard the footsteps behind her. She did not stop walking. She did not look back. But her body changed in small ways that no one would notice unless they knew what to look for. Her shoulders relaxed. Her breathing slowed. Her steps became lighter, ready to move in any direction. 6 of them she counted from the sounds. Heavy footsteps, at least one large creature. Lighter ones, probably, and 3 that moved with the careful precision of trained soldiers. They were trying to be quiet. They were failing. Turned a corner and found herself in a dead-end corridor. Maintenance panels lined the walls. The lighting was dim. She stopped and turned around. They emerged from the shadows like ghosts. 3 mercenaries in dark armor, their faces hidden behind helmets. 2. She recognized nervous glow and arrogant stance. And finally, the massive who had been with them in the botanical wing. Behind them all, hanging back at a safe distance, was "No witnesses this time," he said. His voice shook slightly, but he tried to hide it behind anger. "No rules, just you and us." Looked at each of them in turn. The mercenaries carried neural disruptors, weapons designed to shut down the nervous system without leaving marks, professional tools for professional killers. She felt the old calm settle over her. The world became sharper, clearer. Every detail stood out. The way the lead mercenary balanced his weight, the slight tremor in his hands, the positioning of the lights overhead. "I warned you once," she said quietly. Skin flashed bright red. "And I didn't listen. Neither will anyone else, because after tonight there won't be anyone to." Moved. There was no wind-up, no warning. One moment she was standing still. The next moment she was somewhere else entirely. The lead mercenary was the most dangerous, so he went first. Hand found the nerve cluster in his neck before he could raise his weapon. He dropped without a sound. The second mercenary fired. The neural disruptor's beam scorched the wall where had been standing half a heartbeat before. She was already behind him, her fingers pressing into the base of his skull. He joined his companion on the floor. The third mercenary was faster. He spun and brought his weapon up, his training taking over, but was faster still. She caught his arm, twisted, and the weapon clattered away. A strike to his throat cut off his shout. A kick to his knee brought him down. A precise blow to his temple finished him. 3 seconds had passed. The 2 stumbled backward, their skin patterns flashing panic-white, tried to run, was in front of him before he took 2 steps. She touched his forehead and his eyes rolled back. He collapsed gently. Raised his hands, "Please." She was already beside him. Her fingers found the pressure points that would put him to sleep. He fell without another word. The charged. On any other day, against any other opponent, this would have been terrifying. He was enormous, twice height and 5 times her weight. His species was bred for war. His fists could crush metal. Ducked under his swing. She moved around him like water flowing around stone. Her hands found the hidden weak points in his joints, places where nerves met muscle met bone. 1 strike, 2, 3, 4. The fell to his knees. His arms hung useless at his sides. He could not understand what had happened. He could not feel anything below his shoulders. Stood in front of him. She was not even breathing hard. "Stay down," she said. He stayed down. 8 seconds had passed since the fight began. Stood alone at the end of the corridor. His companions lay around him like fallen leaves. The professional killers his father had sent, soldiers who had fought in wars and crushed rebellions, were unconscious on the floor. And the human girl walked toward him without hurry. He tried to speak. His throat would not work. He tried to run. His legs would not move. His body had shut down completely, overwhelmed by a fear so deep and ancient that it bypassed his conscious mind entirely. Stopped in front of him. "I warned you," she said. Her voice was soft, gentle almost. "I told you that you didn't understand what I am. I told you that you wouldn't like the lesson." She reached out and touched his forehead just as she had touched the others. But she did not put him to sleep. Instead, she held him there, her dark eyes looking into his. "I could kill all of you," she whispered. "On Earth I would have. On Earth this would have ended with blood and death and silence. That is what I was trained for. That is what my world made me." She leaned closer. "But I am trying to be something else. I am trying to be better. So I am giving you your lives. Do you understand? I am giving you a gift that you did not earn and do not deserve." She released him. "Don't make me regret it." Then she turned and walked away. Slid down the wall and sat on the cold floor. His skin patterns had gone completely dark, something that had never happened to him before. He could not move. He could not think. He could only replay what he had just witnessed. The whole fight had lasted less than 10 seconds. And through all of it, through every strike, every movement, every moment of violence, the human girl had not made a single sound. No grunts, no battle cries, no heavy breathing, nothing. Just silence. Perfect, terrifying silence. Found the scene 20 minutes later. He had been searching for since she missed their planned meeting at the festival. The 6 attackers were arranged in a neat row against the wall. Their weapons had been disassembled and placed in a careful pile 10 meters away. All of them were alive. All of them would recover fully. But their eyes, especially his eyes, told a different story. They had seen something that had broken them on a fundamental level. Something that had reached into their deepest instincts and torn away every illusion of safety they had ever known. Sat on a supply crate nearby, reading her. She looked up when arrived. "I need to report this to security," she said, as if discussing the weather. "They were carrying illegal weapons. That's an expulsion offense." What did you do to them?" "Nothing permanent," she paused. "I could have. On Earth this would have ended differently, but you were right. I should handle things better here." She stood up and walked past him toward the main corridor. Behind her finally found his voice. It came out as a whisper, broken and small. She didn't make a sound the whole time. She didn't make a single sound. Looked at him, then at the other unconscious figures, then at the empty corridor where had disappeared. He thought about what she had told him on the observation deck, about what Earth had made her. And he understood, finally, why she had said she did not know how to be afraid. When you were the most dangerous thing in any room, fear was simply not an option. The investigation lasted 3 days. Security officers reviewed footage from corridors near the attack site. They recovered communications between and his father. They examined the illegal neural disruptors. They interviewed witnesses and gathered evidence. The conclusion was clear. 6 individuals had planned and attempted an assault on a student. The student had defended herself. No one had been seriously injured. And his companions were expelled. His family's protests died quickly when the Academy's governing council made it clear that they had evidence of illegal weapons, conspiracy to commit violence, and abuse of family resources. If the family pushed further, the evidence would become public. They did not push further. The 3 mercenaries were handed over to station security. They would face charges in the Outer Rim courts. But before they were taken away, one of them, the leader, a veteran of a dozen military campaigns, said something that spread through the academy like wildfire. "I've fought in wars," he told the security officers. "I've killed enemies and watched friends die. I've seen things that would break most people. but I have never in my entire life been as scared as I was in that corridor." He looked down at his hands. They were still shaking. "She moved like nothing I've ever seen, faster than anything should be able to move. And the whole time, she didn't make a sound. Not one sound. It was like fighting a ghost." He was quiet for a moment. "We were dead the moment she decided we were. The only reason we're still breathing is because she decided we weren't worth killing." After that, his reputation changed completely. Before, students had avoided her out of fear, the distant, uncertain fear of something unknown. Now they avoided her out of respect. They understood on a deep level that she was something special, something dangerous, something that had chosen to be gentle. But not everyone avoided her. In the weeks that followed, something strange happened. Students began approaching her, not to challenge her or mock her, but to ask for help. A classmate who struggled with his engineering project, a young who was afraid of failing her exams, a group of first-year students who were being bullied by older ones. Help them all. She tutored the struggling students with patience that surprised everyone who watched. She sat with the anxious and talked her through her fears. She had a quiet conversation with the bullies that left them pale and shaking, but also, somehow, reformed. Watched this transformation with amazement. "I don't understand," he said one evening on the observation deck. "After everything that happened, why do you help them? They were afraid of you. Some of them probably still are." Considered the question. The gas giant's rings painted colors across her face. "On Earth," she said slowly, "you survive by being strong enough to kill anything that threatens you, but you live by building something worth protecting." She looked at him. "For a long time, all I did was survive. I killed the things that tried to kill me. I walked through danger after danger, always alone, always fighting, and I became very good at surviving." She paused. "But surviving is not the same as living. Surviving is just existing, continuing. It is not happiness. It is not meaning. It is just one breath after another until the breathing stops." She turned back to the stars. "I came here because I wanted more than that. I wanted to learn what it felt like to build something instead of destroy it, to help instead of hurt, to be part of something larger than myself." Her voice was soft. "I don't want to just survive anymore. I want to live." The semester ended with a ceremony in the Academy's Great Hall. Students and instructors gathered to celebrate achievements and honor outstanding individuals. Did not expect to be called. Park instructor Helios 7 announced from the stage, "Please come forward." She walked through the silent crowd. Hundreds of eyes watched her, curious, respectful, and perhaps still a little afraid. She climbed the steps to the stage and stood before the instructor. "Each year," Helios 7 said, "the Academy presents the Harmony Award to a student who has demonstrated exceptional ability to bridge differences between species. This award is typically given to diplomats, peacemakers, and scholars of great distinction." The instructor paused. "This year, the award goes to a human from Earth, a planet so dangerous that most species cannot survive there for more than a few hours. A student who arrived alone, with nothing but a worn backpack and quiet eyes. A student who, despite every reason to distrust and fear others, chose instead to help them." Helios 7 presented a small crystal trophy. It glowed with inner light. "The Harmony Award goes to Park, for proving that strength and compassion are not opposites, that the greatest warriors can also be the gentlest teachers." The hall erupted in applause. Later that night, after the ceremony ended and the crowds went home, a first-year student found on the observation deck. She was a young one who had watched the confrontation in the botanical wing from a distance, weeks ago. "Can I ask you something?" the student said nervously. Nodded. "Is it true, what they say about Earth, that everything there is trying to kill you?" Smiled. It was a small expression, but warm and genuine. Yes, she said, everything on Earth is trying to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, the water, even the air sometimes. It is a world of death and danger and constant struggle. She placed a gentle hand on the student's shoulder. But it's also true that everything there is trying to live, just like everywhere else. The animals fight to survive. The plants reach for the sun. Even the smallest creatures struggle against death with everything they have. She looked out at the stars. We just had to try a little harder. The student left with something new in her eyes, not fear, but wonder. The human girl from there was not a monster. She was proof that even the darkest places could produce light. In his office, Instructor Helios 7 made a note in his private records. Human integration successful. Subject demonstrates remarkable capacity for controlled aggression and community building. The combination of physical capability and emotional intelligence is unprecedented in my experience. Recommend expanded human enrollment in future semesters. Earth may be classified as but the species it produces are far more complex than our categories suggest. Somewhere far away, across the vast emptiness of space, Earth continued its eternal dance of death and survival. Storms raged across its surface. Predators hunted in its forests. Humanity struggled against a planet that had never stopped trying to kill them. And in the Galactic Academy, one child of that terrible world had found a new path. Not the path of violence, not the path of fear, but the path of choice. Stood alone on the observation deck, watching the stars wheel slowly through the darkness. She thought about her parents, her brother, her lost settlement. She thought about the blood and pain and endless fighting. She thought about everything she had been. Then she thought about what she was becoming. On Earth, she had learned that the strongest survived. Here, she was learning something different. The strongest warning, she realized, is the one that doesn't need to be repeated. And the greatest strength of all is knowing when not to use it. The gas giant's rings glittered in the starlight. The academy hummed with quiet life around her. And Park, survivor of Earth, warrior of the reclaimed zones, smiled at the darkness between the stars. She was not just surviving anymore. She was finally truly living.